everyone, I'm Sammy Hoffman and I am the teacher extern for Jasper County Conservation this summer, and today's conservation craft is called plastic fusing. Plastic bags like this on average are only used about 12 minutes before they're thrown away, and what happens is that these break down in the environment into little pieces, and those little pieces will stay in our environment for a really long amount of time. And they end up in our food chains because animals eat them. So we want to try to reuse these plastic bags as much as possible. So what happens is you're basically going to melt the plastic together, and you can do that and you can make little things like this bookmark or coasters, and sometimes people even will make like textiles and sew them together with a sewing machine. So the materials you will need for this craft are plastic bags, parchment paper, an ironing board, and an iron. Okay, so our goal is to make one just flat sheet of melted plastic. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 plastic bags. I've got 4 here and I've flattened them out. They don't all have to be the same size, but they should be roughly the same size. I'm going to cut off the handles, and I might use these pieces later, so I would put them to the side. And so you'll end up with something like this. If you don't like the logos on the plastic bags and you don't want those, you could cut off just the plain plastic, but you're looking for about 8 sheets of plastic altogether at a minimum. Otherwise it's going to be a little bit too thin for you to do projects with. And then I'm also going to take plastic bags that kind of have a cute design on them, and I'm going to put those on the very top, so that way when I melt it all together I end up with a design on the top. So do it like that. I got little animals there too. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take some parchment paper, and I've already had this ripped up, but you want to have it be about 2 times the length of your plastic bags, and because you're basically going to make an envelope to put these in. So take your parchment paper, measure out about 2 times the length, fold it over so you've got your little envelope, and then what you're going to do, and this is the kind of the hard part, I'm going to scooch these over. You're going to get your plastic arranged the way you want it inside of your parchment paper. So you want the parchment paper above and below your plastic bags, otherwise you're going to end up with a big plasticky mess on your iron or on your ironing board. So make sure that they're well protected, and make sure it's parchment paper and not wax paper, because you will end up with a mess if you use wax paper. So I've got my plastic arranged the way I want it, and I'm going to fold that over, and so now I've got my plastic sheeting protected by parchment paper, and I've got my iron, which I've already turned on. All irons are a little bit different, so you're going to want to experiment with this. I recommend starting with a lower setting first and then moving up if you aren't getting the melting that you want. So my iron is set somewhere between the cotton and the jean setting, and so that's where I found that it works the best. So we've got this. I'm going to take my iron, and I'm just going to iron the top of this sheet. You want to make sure that you don't stay in one place for too long, and you want to make sure that you put a bit of pressure on there, making sure that the plastic isn't taking out of your parchment paper. And you're just going to keep going over it. You might see the plastic melting a little bit, and that's good. You want to do this until you feel like you've melted it all together. You're going to kind of see it. So when you feel like you've got everything melted up on top, you're going to want to wait 30 seconds to a minute before you open this up and check on it, because you don't want to burn your fingers. And you're just going to be checking to make sure all of the pieces have kind of melted together on top. And then if you're not happy with it, you can just put the parchment paper back over and check it again. So I'm going to just lift that up. And it should look something like this. You'll notice that it starts to kind of scrunch together. And I think these are pretty good. I might move this a little bit and do this end right here really quick. Okay, so my front is all done. So I've flipped over my parchment paper envelope, and now I'm going to do the same process on the back. And you're basically just going to continue ironing until you're happy with how much it's all melted together. I'm done ironing all of my plastic. You want to make sure you wait a couple minutes before you take it out of the parchment paper so you don't burn yourself. But you should end up with something that looks like this. It's a plastic sheet, essentially, of all of your melted stuff, and it should be pretty thick and sturdy. Some people, when they do these projects, they take these sheets or multiple sheets like this and will put them through their sewing machine and make bags and stuff like that. We're going to just make some just basic shapes out of our plastic, so like a bookmark. So I'm going to cut rectangles out of my plastic here. And you can just use regular scissors. So what I typically do, I'm not going to do it here, and it's optional. You can cut out your shapes that you want, and so I've got my little rectangle here. And what you can do is you can go over the shape with the iron again, so that way these edges kind of seal up. So you can kind of see here that once you cut it, the edges are a little bit rough. You can re-iron them and it seals it all back up nice. So I would just put a little hole punch through here and put some ribbon through, just like I did with this one, and you've got yourself a bookmark. And you can also cut out other shapes. I made coasters before and just did little circles, which are great for like picnic tables and things like that. This plain sheet is really nice because basically you can do whatever you want with it. You can be creative and make all different kinds of shapes. I've made coasters before just by cutting out little circles, which these would be great for like outdoor picnic tables because they're kind of waterproof. And so we can't wait to see what you guys do with plastic fusing, and thanks for watching this conservation craft.